Welcome back to the deep dive. Our mission today, well, it seems simple on the surface, but the conceptual thread we're going to be pulling is actually pretty profound.
It really is.
We've been diving into the source material around the ancient narrative of Parshat Miketz, and what we found is this single, powerful pattern.
And it's a pattern that I think radically alters how you might understand personal crisis or professional delays, even just the whole concept of waiting.
It's a framework, really, for anyone who's ever felt stuck.
It is. The entire story, which is all about Joseph's journey from a pit to a palace, it all hinges on this ultimate divine paradox.
And it's captured in a specific Hebrew phrase our sources kept pointing to.
Right. Hineni me kin depam.
Which translates roughly to what? Suddenly?
Suddenly, in a moment. And it's that word, that suddenly. That's the key.
That's what grabs you, right? Because when good things happen in life, they often do feel sudden, yet the promotion or the crisis just breaks.
But this deep dive suggests that burst of light, it wasn't actually sudden at all.
So that's our mission today.
That is precisely our mission. To unpack this idea that while salvation is revealed in an instant, suddenly, it only comes to light after a long, deliberate, and totally unseen preparation.
We're digging for that insight into what you call preemptive salvation.
Yes. The big question is, what if the resource or the answer you need to solve your biggest problem already exists before the problem is even visible?
Okay, so if we accept that the answer is created before the crisis, it just completely challenges our normal perception of cause and effect.
It does. We operate so linearly. First there's a crisis, then we scramble, and then hopefully we find a solution.
But this divine pattern in Miketz, it's not reactive.
It's preemptive. It's an act of, perfect foreknowledge and orchestration. Our sources use these really simple but powerful analogies to define it.
The three layers.
The three layers of the paradox. First, the cure precedes the illness.
Okay.
Second, the salvation precedes the suffering. And third, and this is the one that really gets me, the light precedes the darkness.
I find that incredibly reassuring. The idea that the light comes before the darkness.
Right.
Because it completely reframes the experience of hardship. It suggests that if you're in a dark moment right now, the tools you need to get out, the wisdom, the strategy.
The humility even.
Right. It's not something you have to go out and frantically find. It's already been manufactured. It's just waiting for its moment.
It shifts your whole psychological focus. Instead of being consumed by anxiety about what's happening now, you're sort of encouraged to have this quiet curiosity about the preparation that must be happening just under the surface.
The pre-built solution.
Exactly. Preparing for its debut.
So to really set the stage here, we have to look at Joseph. He's the main character in Miketz. For 12 agonizing years, the man is literally stuck.
Stuck is the perfect word.
He's been falsely accused, thrown in prison, and then, and this is the worst part, forgotten by the one person he helped, the butler.
And for all that time, nothing moves. There's no heavenly choir, no hint of a rescue. The silence, from any human perspective, is just. It's absolute. It's painful.
And that profound silence, that's the context we need to really get the paradox.
It's essential, because while Joseph is experiencing this complete stagnation in the dungeon outside those walls, a global catastrophe is just quietly building.
Let's talk about the scale of what's coming, because this isn't some minor regional problem.
Oh, no, it's global. Pharaoh is about to have these dreams that signal 7 years of unbelievable plenty. Followed immediately by 7 years of a devastating famine that's going to hit the entire known world. I mean, Egypt is facing total collapse.
And Joseph's family, the ancestors of the entire Jewish nation, they're facing extinction, starvation.
But the crisis hasn't hit yet. That's the key. The fields are still green. Pharaoh hasn't had the dreams. The famine is still years away.
And yet the answer.
The answer is already there. It's sitting, prepared and refined, in a forgotten prison cell. This is the heart of it.
Joseph's ability to interpret dreams, his wisdom.
His unique administrative skills. That wasn't developed after the crisis began. It was prepared before Pharaoh even dreamt. His rise to power, the literal saving of the world, was all set up before the danger ever showed up.
So, connecting this to the bigger picture, the insight is that the creator doesn't react to problems.
Right. He's not playing catch-up.
He puts the resource, the cure, the person, the strategy in place first, develops it fully, and only then does he allow the problem to appear.
It's a complete inversion of how we think. We think the problem makes us go find a solution.
But Miketz suggests the solution comes first in time, even if we experience it after the problem arrives.
The necessary resource Joseph was put in place and prepared years earlier for a crisis he knew nothing about.
But that raises the painful question, right? The one that anyone wrestling with a setback is going to ask.
I know exactly where you're going.
If the solution was ready, why the 12 years of suffering? Why the silence? Why the pit, the false accusation? Why not just put Joseph on the throne right away?
And that brings us to the hidden layer in the sources, which is, I think, the most vital psychological takeaway.
Which is?
The place that feels like absolute abandonment is actually the necessary birthplace of redemption. The silence isn't a delay. It's a period of intense, compulsory character formation.
Let's spend a moment on that idea, suffering as scaffolding. What did Joseph learn in that dungeon that he couldn't have learned as, Jacob's favorite son?
He gained 3 things he absolutely lacked as a kid, things a prime minister needs. First, patience and perspective.
As a pampered son, he was impulsive.
Impulsive and grandiose. 12 years of going nowhere taught him radical humility and deep, deep patience. Second, administrative competence.
Ah, right. The sources say he was put in charge of the other prisoners.
He was managing logistics, mediating disputes, learning oversight, skills much more useful for running a country than, say, tailoring a colored coat.
So he went from being a dreamer to a practical manager.
That's a huge shift.
Yeah.
Exactly. And third, and this is maybe the most crucial part, emotional endurance.
He was betrayed so many times.
By his brothers, by Potiphar's wife, and then so painfully by the cupbearer who forgot him for 2 whole years.
So that succession of betrayals...
It built the resilience he needed to hold total power without becoming corrupt or cruel. He learned how to manage human frailty and keep his integrity even when the whole system failed him.
It's a breathtaking realization. Every moment that felt like a catastrophe, the pit, the sale, the accusation, all of it was just structural scaffolding.
He needed those specific refining fires to handle the weight of saving nations without being crushed by the power itself.
The world needed a refined Joseph, not the dreamer.
And the profound implication here is that God hides the world's salvation, and maybe your salvation, inside the person who feels the most forgotten.
The most erased.
The most erased. Your period of isolation, of stillness, it isn't meaningless. It's the curriculum for your future role.
I think that speaks to anyone who feels overlooked right now, or maybe stuck in a dead-end job.
It suggests they might be in a training ground for something far, far larger. You have to start looking at apparent setbacks as structural components, building the internal strength you'll need for a future you can't even see yet.
And this is where it gets really interesting, connecting that long, silent prep to the sudden breakthrough. Let's frame the end of this story as divine choreography.
Good word for it. Because if you just read the events quickly, they look random.
Totally. The butler and the baker dream, a couple years pass, then Pharaoh dreams. It just feels like luck.
But our sources completely reject the idea of luck or chance. What looks random is actually perfect, layered, divine choreography.
So Joseph's childhood dreams.
They planted the emotional core of his destiny. The butler's dream provided the key, the connection to the royal court.
And Pharaoh's dream.
That very specific double dream provided the sudden, urgent necessity for Joseph's immediate release and elevation.
So none of these are coincidences.
Not a one. They're layers of providence, all disguised until the very last second.
To make sure he wasn't released until he was fully prepared.
Exactly. And when you look at the whole arc of Miketz, you see this rhythm, this pattern, repeated throughout history. It defines the divine rhythm of crisis and redemption.
Okay, let's detail that 4-part pattern clearly for everyone listening, because this is the core takeaway you can actually apply.
Absolutely. This is the blueprint.
Step 1. The preparation is long. This is the years of suffering, of developing skills, often in secret or isolation.
Yes. And step 2, the silence is painful. You feel abandoned, delayed, stuck in neutral. You're convinced nothing is happening or you've been forgotten.
That second step is crucial, isn't it? Because that's where most of us lose hope.
It's the ultimate test. It's the 2 years after the butler forgets Joseph, when Joseph had every single reason to believe all his previous suffering was for nothing.
Then step 3, the breakthrough is sudden. One moment Joseph is in chains, unshaven, forgotten. The next, he's standing before Pharaoh, and moments after that, he's ruling Egypt.
It goes from 0 to 100.
Yeah.
Instantaneously.
And the 4th step, this brings it all back to the initial paradox.
When that breakthrough finally arrives, it feels entirely new. You feel like the solution just appeared out of thin air.
But in truth, that fully formed, sudden solution,
Was prepared and refined from the very beginning.
it just needed all those years of isolation and training to make the resource Joseph ready for his world-saving debut.
Which is why our final authority check here is so vital. We have to turn to the teaching of the Ramban, the 13th century sage.
And he is very clear on this.
Oh, crystal clear. He says there is no coincidence in Miketz, only revelation.
That one statement just eliminates the whole concept of random chance from the story.
It does. Every single detail, from the sale to the prison, was a necessary, intentional step leading to that final sudden revelation. Even the smallest detour was foundational to the destination.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener, navigating your own path?
I think this deep dive is a profound reminder.
That even when your professional life feels stalled, even when answers seem delayed, when there is that painful, isolating silence, the resource you need, the success you're aiming for, it may already be built.
It demands a mindset of patience and a profound trust, not in the situation, but in the process itself.
Right.
It encourages you to recognize that unseen forces may be shaping your future solutions right now in the very moments you feel most ineffective or forgotten.
The process of becoming the person who can hold that future success is the hardest part.
The longest and the most necessary part. That preparation is the hidden investment that makes the sudden breakthrough possible.
So here's a provocative thought to leave you with, something to mull over this week. If the cure always precedes the illness, what specific, quiet training ground are you in right now?
What pit? What silent prison?
What place is currently developing the specific skills, the resilience, and the patience required for a future success you can't even imagine yet?
Focus on the scaffolding, not on the silence.
Until next time, keep digging.